day one today, but I've been going through the orientation videos. And before that, I was just listening to your audio recordings on your podcast and YouTube. Um, but I do have a fairly different background than I believe most pre-law students. I have a civil engineering degree, and I graduated over 10 years ago. I worked in that field for 10 years. So I'm wanting to get some insight as to how, if I should be approaching my preparation differently than others, or is it pretty much straightforward and continue with everything you have set up?
That's a great question. Yeah, I can certainly understand how your situation might be different given your background. But in fact, you aren't that different from a lot of other students. There are plenty of students who've been out of school for a little while. There are plenty of students in the course with engineering or science or mathematical backgrounds. And I wouldn't let that background dictate how you do your prep. I would instead get into the prep and then through that process, see what you've got to do and just focus on that. So don't focus on how you're different from anyone else, real or perceived. Focus instead on just what actually do you need to do based on what you're encountering in the questions as you attempt them. Okay.
So I've tried a few questions, but it was just before I was deciding as to if I was really going to commit to this. And I do see I need to practice my, I guess my timing, but just in general, I need to learn the whole process. Yeah, because I'm new to everything. I've thought about doing this for a long time, but I think this is finally the year. And I'm not taking it until November. And the reason I've decided to wait so long is because I do have commitments from there to November. So I think in total, I will be studying a good 6 months, but there's going to be other things that I think will be coming up.
Sure, of course. And it's great that you have a long timeline, by the way. It gives you the chance to fully master this exam from every angle and take it at a pace that's comfortable for you.
Okay.
What would you say is the biggest challenge you're facing right now?
I think it'll be just really getting the time to sit down and study. I mean, your week by week and daily schedule is really good. It'll just, just sitting down and getting to it. And like I said before, I think I'm just too much in my head because I do have the engineering background. I think that I won't do as well, but in reality, I am shooting for the 170s because I do want to get scholarship money. But right now it's more so just sitting down and getting to it and really focusing.
Yeah, understood, of course. And finding the time can be hard. When do you typically find that you're able to study? And then when do you find that you'd like to study, but it just isn't happening for some reason?
So typically right now I could study in the evenings. I would prefer to study in the mornings, but because of the pandemic, I do have a kindergartner in distance learning. So I do have to be watching that as well. But right now it'll be the evening time. Yeah.
So what time in the evening roughly from start to end?
It would probably be around 6 to 8 right now, or even further. I mean, I think I would be able to go till 10, but I have read or listened to some of your other recordings where you typically say study about 2 hours, right, a day?
Well, on a weekday when you have other obligations, that seems like a reasonable target for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Whether you could actually do it or not. Yeah. I mean, whether you could do it or not based on a whole bunch of different factors. I mean, I'm sure studying while you have a kindergartner who's home a lot definitely is not easy at all. I mean, I have a 2-year-old myself, so I can somewhat relate to the struggles of getting things done when you have a very needy child who is demanding your attention, right? So
I have a 2-year-old too.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow. So they say 1 is 1 and 2 is 10.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, so I can definitely get it. I mean, I'm super impressed that you would be able to do 2 hours, let alone 4 potentially. So I'm glad
Yeah.
you're allowing 6 months. This takes a lot of time.
Yeah, that just because I was really I wanted to research a lot before I really decided to commit to doing it. And because I do want to be on the high score side, I feel like I do need the 6 months just because I have so much on my plate. Besides that, I do have like a part-time job right now. And yeah, I really do need the 6 months to for me to feel like I can fully succeed and get the score that I really want.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, so you're thinking that, let's say we're at the very beginning of March right now. If you give it
Hmm.
approximately 6 months, does that mean you would aim for roughly August or October?
So I was aiming for November.
November. Yeah.
Yeah. But if it gets to the point when I'm doing some of the exams or the practice exams and I'm seeing that my scores are pretty high, I'm thinking I would probably move the date up. But like I said, I do have other like family events that are pretty big this year,
Yeah.
so I'll have those commitments as well. So that's why I was shooting for November.
Yeah. I mean, that's even better. I mean, you can take any of those dates and move it up before November if you like, but you take any of those dates, August, October, November, you can
Okay.
still apply fairly early in the cycle. There might be some old information out there talking about saying that November is later, November is the latest possible that anybody would
Okay.
recommend. That's not true anymore. Applying in November is totally fine. So you take it in November,
Okay.
you get your score
That's
back
good to
roughly
know.
2, 3 weeks later, then have everything else ready to go, hit submit, and you're good. And you can work on all of the other application stuff on the side as a break from the
Okay.
LSAT over the next several months. And then you also have a couple of weeks while you're waiting for your score where you can continue refining things and pulling it all together.
Okay. And as far as like say personal statement, um, I don't even I mean I've thought about it and I know I've done personal statements for when I applied for undergrad. Um, but how should I be approaching that? I know just given my background, I think that's what makes me so nervous that given my background, I know a couple other people that have gotten into law school with my background, but they said you really need to focus and go into intellectual property, and that's not so much where my interest lies. And I don't necessarily want to get pigeonholed into picking one specific area. And not because I have a science major, do I necessarily want to work in the science industry, if that makes sense, or the tech industry. That's just what my background is, and I worked there, but I'd like to pursue other things as well.
Sure, that's fine. I mean, you can, once you get into law school, you can do whatever you want. You
Okay.
can go into any field. Law schools know that folks frequently change their areas of interest and the practice areas that they're considering over time. I mean, law school, in a way, is one of the benefits of law school is that it exposes you to a wide variety of
Okay.
types of law. So there's no such thing
Okay.
as getting pigeonholed, really. I mean, it's possible that when you meet people, they might pigeonhole you there in their perceptions
Yeah.
based on seeing your resume and your background, but it's
Oh,
your
that's
choice what
true.
you do. I mean, a lot of law school classes are requirements, but then in terms of electives, you can choose whatever you want down the line and you can apply for whatever jobs you want after you get out. And so
Okay.
you can keep it pretty open ended. Or I could see a strategic argument for framing your background with the intellectual property and the science, because that is relatively more unique than your typical pre law political science major. So law schools like
Yeah.
people with science backgrounds. They like people who have that more technical understanding because
Okay.
your employment prospects are maybe a bit better than someone who fits a more standard stereotypical pre-law background.
Okay. So
It's
I
your
guess I
choice how
have
to it's
had
your choice how
some.
to handle it though.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's good to know because I think I've just had some misinformation coming my way, or maybe I was interpreting it the wrong way. Yeah. So yeah, that makes me feel a lot better, a little more confident. I'm still really nervous, but I think that with your course and all the reviews I've seen, that I'll be successful. And I did get the subscription through Law Hub. So I have access to the exams now as well.
That's great. I mean, you definitely want to have those. I want to circle back to the application question for another moment. I'd love to get a little bit more from you about, you said what you don't want to do, or that you're not, what you're not super interested in. What are you interested in? What does appeal to you more?
So one of the areas that really does appeal to me is immigration law and contract law, which probably seem like two very different things. Immigration law, it's more so because of my background. My family is from El Salvador. My parents, they both immigrated here with nothing, and they produced two pretty successful children. So I'd like to give back to my community in that way. And contract law, just because through engineering, I have a civil engineering degree. I worked a lot on the construction side of things. I worked on on the office administration side, so managing the contract. So we had a lawyer reviewing all our documents, and he had an engineering undergrad, and he went on to pursue his law degree, and his focus was just reviewing all the contract documents that we had with the different people working on site. So that's one of the few times that I have that has further sparked my interest and said, yes, I really can do this.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. I mean, definitely so many things about your background can help you with your law school admissions process and help you with your legal career in general. So when I said earlier, I could see a strategic argument for highlighting the engineering and the IP stuff as a possibility for where you might take things after law school. I didn't necessarily mean that in a disingenuous way, but rather simply that you have a variety of options in terms of how exactly you choose to highlight what you want to do. So instead of saying, you know what, I'm super inspired to work in the field of immigration due to my background, that's really where my interests lie. The engineering stuff, I'm going to leave it all behind and throw it out. I wouldn't go that route. I'm saying instead, I think there's a way to do it authentically where you talk about your engineering background and what you've been exposed to with contracts, and also how you're inspired because of your background, because of your experiences, to also have an immigration element to what you do potentially.
Okay.
So maybe the engineering and the contract stuff could be the focus of a personal statement. And then the immigration elements or angles could be part of a diversity statement. And you can allude to how those things may tie together. So for example, maybe helping folks get green cards to come to the US to work in engineering, let's say, just to make something. I don't know all the details, but that's just one potential route you might take.
That is one area. Yeah, but that's, I guess now that I'm speaking out loud, this has all been going on in my head. I've never really spoken to anybody about it, but getting your feedback is really motivating me even more. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, I'm really glad to hear that, man. I find the work that you're looking to do very inspiring, and I'd love to support you in that journey, not with the LSAT, but also with the admissions side of things. One thing we do in the course is we'll do application essay workshops. So you can submit drafts of your personal statement or diversity statement or any other documents you might want to submit for your application, submit them as drafts, and then we can workshop them in upcoming classes. And you can also get support even with the brainstorming stages as well.
Okay. And how would I go about doing that? Is that part of like the subscription I have, or is that something separate that I need to look for? Or
yeah, it's part of the course. I mean, if you need help finding it, let me know, and I can send you where to get that link to the form to just upload your drafts if you have drafts, and then I'll add it into
I don't have drafts yet, but
okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I'd like to be super prepared.
Of course, that's fine. Well, when you do have a draft, there's a place to upload it. In the meantime, if you're looking for support on the admissions part of the brainstorming, let me know. Which level of access do you currently have?
I think I have the mid-level,
premium. Yeah, premium. Oh, perfect. Yeah, so you have access to attend all the live classes on admissions.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course, Jessica. Any other questions for today?
I think that's it. I don't know, not any questions right now. I'm sure once I get into like the actual work, I'll have a lot more. just knowing myself, I'll have a lot more questions.
Yeah, of course. Well, any questions you have, feel free to reach out. I'll definitely do whatever I can to point you in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Of course. Have a good one. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.